All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Chike Onyia. This is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. And listen, I'm delighted to be here today. I'm excited. I'm elated. I mean, there's so many words that I can use to describe my emotions. But listen, I'll be remiss in my duty today if I don't introduce my co-host. You know who I'm talking about. It is the one and only Dr. Azuka Onyia, the most intelligent human being on the planet. You know, a woman I'll take a bullet for, but don't try shooting me, right? Because you won't win. I love this woman with all my heart. And to co-host, I want to welcome you. How you doing, my dear?
Good evening, everyone. I'm equally as excited as you are, or even maybe more excited. Ask me why now.
Why? Why are you excited? Why are you so excited?
Because today is the opening ceremony of the Olympics, the 2024 Olympics. And it promises to be a very exciting one. So, you know me, I love sports. So.
Yeah. She's a sports junkie. You know, she loves, I mean, my wife got me, she conscripted me into watching soccer, you know, when we came back from the US. And of course I had to, you know, I had to become a fan of her football team. You know, I watch basketball. I mean, when I was in LA, we were in LA, I loved the LA Lakers, right? So I'm a basketball fan. But my wife is a junkie when it comes to soccer and tennis. So today I have to sit.
Funny enough, I'm really looking forward to watching the basketball tournament on the Olympics.
Nice.
Fantastic players, fantastic team.
Yes.
You know, we've had the USA winning for years, many years. But, you know, this year may just be different. So I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, again, if you're joining us, this is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. We're excited to be here, my wife and I. And, you know, want to welcome you from Nigeria. Welcome, Nigeria, right? It doesn't matter where you're tuning in from, joining us. If it's Jos in Plateau State, Zaria in Kaduna, Lagos, Nigeria, Ibadan, Meduguri, wherever you are, Owerri, Abia, whether, it doesn't matter where you are, we want to welcome you today. Enugu, of course, my home state, you know, my village. I want to welcome those in my village today. Udi, Udi town, Udi Ponkwem. You know what I'm saying?
What about my village?
He's a Chime one of Udi. Your village, where are you from? No, my in-laws, listen, I love my in-laws, man. My wife's from Abatete in Idemili, local government, right? Listen, I love my wife's village. I go out and hang out, right? Yeah, so from Abatete, you're welcome too, right? You're joining on social media, right? They're probably watching us on YouTube and Facebook. Those of you in Los Angeles, my wife and I lived in LA for many years, want to welcome you. New York City, where our kids are today, some of our kids are in New York, we want to welcome you. Atlanta, wherever you're tuning. Canada, I have classmates in Canada, you know, FGC Odobulu, 1983 class. You know, your class was what?
Greet them.
I should greet them, Abi.
Yes.
FGC Kano, 1985 class, want to welcome you. Yeah, I know Tinuka is probably watching. She's going to like chop off my head. So we got Fego, FGC Odobulu, 1983 class, FGC Kano, 85 class. If you're watching, want to welcome you. You know, we want our friends and our family members to join on the show. Make it exciting. We want you guys to call in, all right? We're going to call in, and today I'm not going to forget the numbers, 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. If you're calling from outside Nigeria or even in Nigeria, you want to do WhatsApp, we have that number, +234 91 6000 2663. They're going to put those numbers up in a moment, but we need to get to the show, right? We're just bantering here, having some fun. But what are we talking about today, really? This month, we've had a theme this month. You want to tell the audience, you know, what we're going to be talking about? Another great time on the show today. Go ahead, honey.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about mental health and resilience in relationships. You know, how to stay mentally strong and how to be resilient as we navigate the challenges in relationships. It doesn't matter what the relationships are. It could be a relationship with your spouse, with your significant other, with your boss, with your child, with your parents. Relationships come with issues. It could even be, navigating challenges with your boss. Relationships are relationships. So
That's
we're
a
going
good
to
one. With
try
your boss,
to,
huh?
yeah,
I like that.
We're going to try to walk through how you can be resilient and you can be mentally strong, even when navigating the challenges that we all face in relationships.
Interesting topic today. We're going to look at the different relationships like you talked about. But let's get started with...
Well, let's start with our own relationship.
Oh, you want us to get started with our own relationship?
Yes, so what are some of the struggles that we faced?
Oh, my God.
You
Yeah,
didn't know that was coming.
So
right?
I didn't know it was coming.
Start with yourself.
But hey, look, I love to always talk about myself and my own issues. I'm not a perfect human being. My level of self-awareness is very high. I know where my inadequacies lie, right?
So let me help you.
So, okay, go ahead.
So we've faced various, challenges in our relationship, and one of the most recent ones that comes to my mind is deciding on where to live. Deciding on where to live, in Lagos. Looking for, a property, to lease or acquire. At some point, there was, a lot of disagreements. Should it be here? Should it be there? Where should it be? What are the factors to watch out for? And maybe you want to throw some more light.
Well, I mean, I had my preferences. It was a particular estate I wanted to be in a particular location in Lagos, and I was kind of stuck there, for example. But you wanted to spread your tentacles and look to various places. It was several years ago where we were looking, at some properties and all that. So yes, we had some disagreements there. And listen to me very carefully. Conflicts. No one can avoid conflicts in life. If you're conflict averse, if you don't like conflicts, then you shouldn't be on planet Earth, really. Because, listen, you will meet a conflict in a relationship. You will. And I read an article from the Harvard Business School. That article changed my life. The article taught me that there are 3 types of conflicts. And even before I talk about the 3 types of conflicts, I'm going to relate it to what you just talked about. One of the first things you need to understand in relationships where there are conflicts, apart from understanding the fact that conflicts will happen, is what is the source of the conflict? And why are people holding on to their positions? What's the rationale behind those positions that they hold? Because everybody has a position, and if you push beyond the position, you will find the rationale or the interest driving that position.
Okay, so using this place to live as a case study, what was the rationale behind you insisting on a particular estate? There are like 500 estates maybe within, the area that we live in.
Right.
But you insisted on that particular estate.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what was driving that? And I felt it's not as if you have an inheritance there. You're not even from Lagos State.
Really?
Why would you now?
You have to disclose that, huh?
Yes, you've given money for people trying to guess where you're from. So you're not from Lagos State. Chike, Onyia, da.
Like da. Like Azuka would say, like da.
You're not from Lagos State, so you insisted on a particular location in the state.
Right.
What was the rationale behind that?
Okay.
Belligerence.
Yeah. So if you're listening, I want you to know that we're talking about marriage in this case. My wife and I have been married for many, many years. And we're not exempt from conflicts. And so if my wife and I did not walk through that conflict, did not remain resilient, flexible, agile, adaptable, then maybe Who knows what will happen? Some marriages have broken up because people did not resolve their conflicts one way or the other. The rationale for me saying that particular estate in Lagos, the rationale had several prongs to it. One is proximity. Proximity to my office, your office, proximity to our daughter's school, right? Proximity to a shopping center. It was centrally located, away from the clusters in Lagos where there'd be major traffic. So I didn't want to get on a certain axis where it would take me, if I left my office, it would take me 5 hours to get home or whatever. So those are some of the things behind driving that. And I think for me, one of the biggest challenges, now that I reflect on it, is that, because of my perfectionist tendencies, because of my, the way I think, a bit narrow-minded. And thank God for my wife. She's helped me to broaden my, I was holding on to that. And that's what caused some of the conflict, because I didn't want to really listen much to what my wife was saying, even though ultimately I had to. You have to listen. You can't hold on to a position and think you're going to win the argument without listening, without being humble, right? So that was it. So I was talking about the Harvard Business School article. Mm-hmm. And the article says there are 3 types of conflicts. Mm-hmm. There's the hot conflict, where the couple is shouting, screaming, arguing. And those kind of conflicts, ladies and gentlemen, never amount to anything good. Because what you have is just emotions. People are angry, they're talking over each other. You're not going to be resilient through that process. You won't, because at the end of the day, you're just going to be fed up. So there's the hot conflict. There's also the cold conflict, where it's a silent treatment. Nigerians would say you keep malice. Mm-hmm. And that was the story I was going to start with. I had a friend in law school in the US. I will never forget that guy. And he said to me, listen, he said, I've been living with my wife under the same roof, and I've not spoken to her for 6 months. I've not spoken to her for 6 months. So obviously, they had a conflict. They had an issue in the relationship. But the question is, were they resilient enough? Were they mentally strong enough to face the issues and walk through the issues the way you and I ultimately walk through, this issue of where to live? And here we find ourselves in a particular place in Lagos today. By the way, the third type of conflict is the warm conflict. So the Harvard Business School says stay away from the hot conflict, where you're shouting and screaming, nothing productive. Stay away from the cold conflict, where you keep silent treatment, you give silent treatment, you keep malice, like they say in Nigeria, and approach and embrace the warm conflict, where people are able to, even though tempers are flaring up, somebody says, let's do a timeout, let's calm down, let's listen to one another, and let's walk through this process and see whether we can bounce back, which is what resilience is, the ability to bounce back, after you've had a dispute or a problem, right? So I hope that makes a bit of sense. If you're just joining us, good evening to you, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. This is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My wife is the co-host, Dr. Zuka. I'm Chike Onyia, your host, and today on the show, we're talking about mental strength and resilience, particularly in the area of relationships and navigating the challenges in relationships, right? So you've taken marriage, right? So can we go to the workplace? You're taking a bus. Okay. Take a bus, right? Why would an employee who works with a particular boss, why would they even let's talk about first and foremost, why they may have a challenge in that relationship. I mean, you're a boss and you manage people, right? So maybe think through your experience being a leader. What has created a problem between you and a team member, somebody who reports to you? What has created a problem in that relationship that would require people to kind of walk through it and be mentally strong to navigate through it? Even you as the leader, to navigate through the issue, because bosses go through a lot as well. So can you think about, something that maybe you can share with the audience, with an employee who maybe would have a problem in a relationship with a supervisor?
Yeah, I think one of the most common challenges that I've had with, people who report up to me is when people don't take responsibility You know, and there's that, you know, buck pushing. Is not, you know, I mean, it can be as ridiculous as, okay, I was late because, you know, the dog peed on my laptop, or, you know, I mean, you're late. It's not about the dog, you know.
That's funny.
So it's
Oh my God.
not taking responsibility. You are the employee. You got hired, not somebody else. Everybody has a JD. You have a job description.
Right.
You have the things that you're supposed to deliver.
Right.
You know, so a lot of you know, employees, the first thing they say is, "It's not my fault." You know, that's it's not my fault. Is it my fault? You know, so there would be conflict with your boss if you don't take responsibility. You know, so what you know, what I expect, you know, people to say is, you know, "I'm sorry this happened, let me fix it." Much later, you can do a debrief. What went wrong? You know, what, you know, how can we prevent this from happening? But if the first response is to be defensive, it's bound to create a conflict. Another thing that creates conflict for me as a boss is when, you know, my staff just drop the issue and walk away. You know, here is the issue. However you want to go and solve it, too,
That one's your
that
business.
one is your business.
Carry go.
That's the way it comes across.
I get it.
You know, to me as a, and it always causes conflict. You know, you're an adult. You know, you've been hired, you know, to do a job. If you run into an issue, can you do like some basic research? Ask the person sitting next to you. Phone a friend.
Call a friend.
You know,
who wants to be a millionaire, right?
Yeah, phone a friend.
Call a friend.
If you don't have friends,
You're like Donkey on
yes, on Shrek.
On Shrek. I
If
don't
you
have
don't
any
have
friends.
friends.
Donkey on Shrek, huh?
Call
I don't
a
have any friends, eh?
Call a family member.
If you don't have friends, call a family.
Yeah,
man.
call a family
mentor.
member. Call a colleague. Call your pastor. Call somebody. Maybe your pastor has a friend.
So maybe he'll pray for you.
No, maybe he has a friend. Do you understand?
This is so funny. Oh
you know,
my
go
God.
to Google. Ask ChatGPT.
Meta AI, huh? Just
Ask some. Don't just tell me this is the problem and then walk away.
I hear you.
So it's bound to cause conflict because you see a lot of employees delegating up. They've just given you work.
They're putting the monkey back on your shoulder.
Back on you.
They drop it on your shoulder.
You know, madam, go and figure it out. Do you understand?
Oh
So you know, things like that are bound to, you know, cause conflict.
I get it. And we're going to take a break in a minute. But before we go to break, you see, let's put that in context. You know, honey, when you chastise that direct report for either coming late and not taking responsibility or dropping that monkey on your shoulder by delegating up, sometimes these employees become moody, morose, disengaged, even upset, angry at you. Why is madam, her own is too much? Why is Oga like this? You know what I'm saying? And they may be sad, even depressed. They may cry. And what I want to say to a young man or young woman out there, if you're watching the show today, you need to be mentally strong and resilient. There's no job you're going to work in the world today where your boss is not going to demand that you deliver and hold you accountable. And sometimes your boss is not going to be happy with you, right? And they're going to tell you off, right? So you need to take it like a man or a woman, have some grit, mental strength and toughness, so you can bounce back, okay? We're going to take a break, right? When we come back, we're going to continue the show. We're talking about mental strength, resilience, in the context of relationships and navigating challenges. And we'll open up the phone lines. And, you know, if you're listening, you know, you can, of course, we have our platforms on Facebook, you know, on Instagram, we're there. YouTube, we're there. You can leave your comments. We'll read your comments. We want to welcome you to the show. And I really want to ask the audience to call in today. Share your own thoughts, your own experiences. Maybe you've had some challenges in your relationships, at work, with your spouse, significant other, whatever. You're going to join this conversation. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My wife was just reminding me, hey man, you didn't say hello to London. You didn't welcome London. And I can see Madam Tinuke, right? I can see you. You're welcome all the way from London. She says, good evening, Mr. and Dr. Mrs. Onyia, right? There's Halimat Lawal. Good evening, ma. There's Steve King. And good evening. Halimat says, happy birthday in arrears, wishing you long life, prosperity, good health. Thank you so much, Halima. I really appreciate that. Right, so we're back to the show. And on the show today, we're talking about mental strength and resilience in the context of our relationships and navigating those challenges, right? So I'm going to hand over to my wife. And, you know, she was telling me that when we come back, before we open up the phone lines and all that, and get your thoughts and comments. So we need to tell the audience a little bit about what mental strength is. What is this thing called mental strength? I mean, we throw that phrase around, resilience, the word resilience, we throw it around, but really, you know, what does it really mean? You know, so, honey, you want to do some justice to this?
Yes, you know, it's easy to say the words, you know, be mentally strong. But what does that look like? Does it mean going around with a grin on your face like a well-fed cat? Or, you know, is there more to being mentally strong? You know, so I did, you know, a little bit of research, you know, before the show. And, you know, what mental toughness, mental strength looks like in the face of challenges in relationships is really a combination of resilience, emotional intelligence, and having a positive mindset, just having a positive outlook, you know, knowing that, you know, these two shall come to pass, you know, and it's not just coping and tolerating a relationship, be it a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend, or a boss, you know, subordinate relationship. Any kind of relationship is not just about tolerating. It's actually staying in that, you know, relationship and thriving. You know, and there are a number of things. I mean, let me speak for myself. You know, one way I'm able to cope with, you know, the challenges that we faced in our relationship is through humor. You know, I try to douse the tension by looking for the funny side of things and, you know, just, you know, cracking a joke and we all laugh and you
like
know.
this, my husband is crazy, huh? And
Yeah,
then
and I could even tell you.
We giggle and laugh about it. It's crazy guy.
You want to live in this particular estate. Are you from Lagos? Is your name now Chike Ogedengbe?
Oh my God, that's funny.
You know, and we laugh about it, you know. So it kind of like, you know,
douses the tension.
douses the tension, and people are able to, you know, to cope.
That's funny.
You know, having open and honest conversations, but being, you know, careful about as to the timing.
Right.
When you have those conversations, you know, we've learned over the years to just say, you know, say it, try to be honest and transparent and open and let the person know where you're coming from.
Right.
Also being good at managing, you know, the conflicts and how you communicate, not attacking the person. If I had said, what is wrong with you? Why is it this particular, you know, estate? Did your father build the estate? You know, I'm attacking what you're saying, and
right.
you know, we're not going to have peace because we're both strong-willed people. You're strong-willed. I'm strong-willed as well.
No kidding.
You know, and so it's about, you know, it's about looking at the merits of each other's positions and trying to understand. Once someone understands where you're coming from,
right,
they can work with you. You know, they can help you. You know, because at some point, you know, I tried for like 6 months looking for a property in that particular estate, and it was obvious to the two of us that there was no vacancy. I didn't just say, you know what, you know, I don't understand, you're being unreasonable. No,
right.
I did try. It was obvious to the two of us that we could not kill somebody and kidnap their house within the estate. You know, we've tried, and so we went elsewhere. You went elsewhere on your own.
With you. With you.
You know.
So I left that estate, and that's another thing I want to talk about.
But sorry, the funny thing, you know, the funny thing is, one day, I went to that estate. Voila, there was a vacant property.
Oh my God.
You know,
that's funny, man.
And we were able to get that property within a week.
Right.
So all that emotions and, you know, everything was unnecessary, because at the end of the day, you got what you wanted. But then you had also seen that it's kind of like tough to hold on to that position, you know, for long. So that ability to just look at the facts, you know, you had good reasons why you wanted, you know, to be in the estate. It's just that, you know, we needed to also explore other options. And by the time we finally got what we wanted, we loved it, you know, because we had compared other places and we had seen that, look, the grass is really not greener, you know, on the other side. Another thing that is helpful in being mentally strong in any relationship is also, you know, practicing patience. You know, I didn't just wait for or look for a place within the estate for 24 hours or 1 week and say I've given up. No, 6 whole months.
Right.
You know, and within that 6-month period, we were living in a temporary, you know, apartment. My whole life was upside down, but I knew this is not going to last forever. We are going to ultimately find a place that we like, that we love, which we eventually did. You know, so just that patience, walking through the process, navigating, is also very important in terms of maintaining your mental strength. Why a lot of people give up in relationships is that lack of patience. And sometimes it's not 6 months. You know, it could be It could be 20 years. It could be anything, but what keeps you together, during the waiting period?
Right.
It's just gratitude, understanding,
Yeah.
even a bit of forgiveness. I had to forgive you for being belligerent and insisting on one estate, to be able to cope
Right.
and be patient enough, I'm like, okay, so, for me, people need to walk step by step through some of these points
Right.
that I have mentioned in terms of practicing that mental strength.
All right, let's go to the phone lines and hear from our guest. In the meantime, Destiny Upai said, good evening, sir. He says, happy birthday, age graciously. Thank you, Destiny. The phone lines, let's open it up. 091 6000 2661, 091 6000 2662, or plus 234 91 6000 2663. You can call on WhatsApp, right? If you're calling from outside Nigeria. We have friends in London. We want you to call in and share your thoughts. We have family in London. Call in. We have family in the US. We have family here in Nigeria. We want you guys to call in, our friends and our guests. Before the show, we have a call. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My name is Halimat Lawal, calling from Lagos.
Hello, Halimat. How are you?
Okay, sir. First and first, I would love to wish you a birthday, sir. Wishing you long life and prosperity, goodness and wealth.
Thank you.
It has passed, but we still need to wish you happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Go ahead, Halimat.
Okay, I would love to contribute that. Madam is actually right. Ma'am is right. In every relationship, you should know that there's nothing greener anywhere. There are going to be troubles in whatever relationship you decide to be in.
Okay.
So you just have to have patience. And you also, for me, I recently learned this week in a relationship, relationship with my friend, I learned that you give up the same vibe you get. Because it can be so painful and mentally disturbing if you're giving off a great vibe and someone is not returning that vibe to you. You'll feel kind of foolish, down, and all stuff. So I've learned that in whatever relationship, I give up the same vibe I'm getting. If you give me positive vibes.
Wow, all right. I think her network, did we lose her? She was making a very good point, She says, first of all, relationships, as you navigate through the relationship, don't think that the pasture is greener elsewhere. And that's that patience you were talking about. Sometimes, especially some people in the younger generation, not all, but some, and I've had to cancel some of them in marriage, right? So I know what I'm talking about from experience. Sometimes they're not mature enough. They don't understand this patience you're talking about. Sometimes they even think that the pasture is greener on the other side. And that's what she's saying. You jump out of this relationship because you're not mentally tough, strong to remain and hang in, and you jump into something that is even worse, right? She also talked about the vibes that you give out. That's important because if you're giving out positive vibes, you're going to attract the same. That's what you were talking about in terms of forgiveness. Forgiveness is very positive. If you forgive me, then, the next time if you do something to me, because you've shown compassion and forgiveness in the relationship, I'm going to be mentally strong, tough, to remain resilient, patient with you as we navigate those problems. And I will end up forgiving you because you gave me a positive vibe in forgiveness. And that's what this forgiveness is very powerful. A lot of times people don't forgive. They hold on to negative things in their relationships, and they pull those things back up every time there's an argument. They don't forgive. They're carrying these things in their heart. And if you don't forgive, it's going to be, and I know sometimes it's tough. It's tough to forgive, but trust me, with God in your life, you can do great things. Before the show, we're talking about even other examples of where, in relationships, you need to be patient, mentally strong, resilient. And we gave examples, like, for example, if you have a woman who is married and she's unable to have children. I met a woman who said, it took 13 years for me to give birth to my child. Now, imagine what that couple had to go through in that relationship. What if the man left? What if the man was not patient enough? He married her because he loved her, but only to find out first, second, third year to the 13th year she could not give birth. How do you hang it in the relationship? Some people just quit.
The woman could have quit herself.
Yeah.
The man didn't want to quit. The
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
Some women will be like, you know what? I mean, two men can't be in this place.
Two
Yes.
men. You didn't marry a man.
Yeah, you didn't marry
Two
a man.
men cannot be in the marriage.
I'm of no use to you. I'm gone.
Wow.
So it's not usually or always the man that that leaves out. Both the woman who is struggling, and the man who is there, have to practice a lot of forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself first, and also, you have to practice a lot of patience with yourself and having that positive mindset.
It can be really tough though.
Yeah, it can be tough, but it's a practice. You have to try to do, I've been in situations, in my life that, it was really very tough for me. And, the issue just didn't go away, but I had to look for other things to distract my attention. And maybe that's why I love sports so much. And I recommend sports
Right.
to anybody out there.
The Olympics.
Yeah, watch the Olympics.
Watch tennis. Yeah.
Watch because for me, the activity, the excitement, who's going to win, how did the person win, how did the loser lose, and even at the end of the event, how the winner is gracious in accepting their win, and how the loser is also gracious in congratulating the winner and promising to work harder the next time. It's also refreshing. It just makes me forget
The issue.
what the issues
Even if
are.
it's a temporary thing. You forget.
I like to watch, comedy shows, anything that is funny just makes me laugh. I stay away from sad movies.
I hope the audience is following here, because you're laughing about this, but even from a psychological point of view, as you're going through stress in your relationships or problems in life and work with your boss, you need to have, in fact, it was Martin Seligman in the book Learned Optimism. Martin Seligman, PhD, out of University of Pennsylvania. He used to be the former president of the American Psychological Association, and he wrote that book, Learned Optimism. And in that book, Martin Seligman, PhD, taught me something. He says, one strategy on how to deal with your stress and when you're feeling overwhelmed is what my wife talked about, and that's distraction. You watch tennis. By the way, I should throw this in. Yannick Sinner is my guy in tennis. Yes, I should throw that in. I guess he's number one in the world now. Djokovic, I don't know whether Djokovic is back, but Yannick Sinner, well, honey, you're the tennis fan. I'm a Yannick Sinner fan, man. You know what I'm saying? So if you're out there, if you watch tennis, that's my guy, man. I know my wife likes Djokovic and the rest of them. But anyway, that's besides the point, right? I had to throw that in. But, you're watching tennis, you're watching soccer, you're watching a comedy, you're going out to the movie, right? You're doing something. You're going to the orphanage home to go and visit children who have no parents. You distract yourself. You go and serve in the church or in the mosque or whatever. Distract yourself. It's not just all about you, right? It's so important. And that's a psychological strategy in dealing with problems, right?
I am an active participant in, a few WhatsApp groups, like my family WhatsApp group, WhatsApp group.
Your family WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Your older brother, he throws in a lot of jokes. And,
yes, everybody in my house.
They laugh, man. You guys laugh a lot.
Humor, we laugh a lot. We laugh all day.
Dopamine, you're secreting that dopamine.
My secondary school, WhatsApp group. These are people that I've known
FGC Kano 85 class.
since I was 11 years old. And so I transport myself back to Form 1.
When you were what?
You know, when I was 11.
11, huh?
Yes, and I'm like, you know what? This is not that big madam that has bills to pay. I'm 11 as a kid.
Oh my God!
You know,
no
and I'm
bills
very
to pay,
active
huh?
there, and we talk. There's no airs. You know, I'm myself. You know, and I banter with people I've known like literally all my life. You know, it takes the stress away. You know, it just helps me to manage, you know, whatever the issues are. And so that's my encouragement, you know, to people. A lot of people, you know, your secondary school WhatsApp group may not be the best for you, may bring actually stress and bad memories. You know, but you know, belong to a group, you know. But even if it's your group at church,
join a group,
join a group, or
yes.
your professional group. There's somebody that has a very interesting question.
What did he say?
You know, is this
D Tiger
Facebook
Brand?
Or
I don't know. Is it Facebook or YouTube? Who knows, man?
So
but we should know where
D
they're writing
Tiger
from.
Brand says it is true that patience is so important for relationships. However, this whole ideology of the grass is not greener on the other side, isn't that the reason people stay in toxic relationships? How do we know when to draw the line?
Well, I mean, the answer to this question is, I think it's very simple in my mind, and maybe because I'm an emotional intelligence practitioner and also a resilience practitioner. The answer is simple. There are different types of abuse that people face in the relationships that are a no-no. There's nothing like the grass is greener on the other side when you're being physically abused. No way. No. I tell people all the time, any man, and it could be a woman too, but any man that touches a woman is not a real man. It's just a member of the male species. You're not a man. Your mates are building empires, and you're there beating your spouse. That is a no-no. The first time a man touches a woman, that woman should leave. I'm not saying divorce him. Step away from there until that man repents and turns away from his evil ways. You don't touch a woman no matter what. Leave her, walk away. And vice versa. Don't get physical. Walk away. I'm not talking about divorce, but you need to step aside. Go back to your father's house until that man gets the requisite counseling he needs. That's number one. Number two, there's also emotional abuse. Where the words you speak, the things you say to the person, you know, you're beneath me. You're unworthy. I shouldn't have married you. You're worse than the scum of the earth. Why would you? You know, I should have married the other person. You don't. There's certain things you don't say, or you cheat on the person. You know, these things are you cheat on the person. You're abusing the person. So these are things that we should not do. Right? We should not do. So it's clear, you draw the line. And the way to do that is that, I like what you said earlier, you have very candid conversations. There's a lot of candor. You got to be open and honest and transparent. And you see, a lot of times people run away from having difficult conversations. I don't blame them. They've not been taught, number one, the need, and that's where that mental toughness comes in, because resilience requires you, number one, to confront the brutal facts. No matter how brutal the facts are, if it's emotionally abusing you, you have to confront the facts. You got to say, we need to talk. We need to talk about this. The way you speak to me is abusive. I will not tolerate it anymore. If you do this again, I will do A, B, C, and D. And if he does it again or she does it again, you do A, B, C, and D. That's the answer to that question. He says, where do you draw the line? Listen, let me land by saying, every human should be dignified. My wife is a human being, beautiful, created by God. Why will I abuse her? Why would I do that? Why will I emotionally or physically abuse my wife? Chike, you will be wrong if you do that to your wife. So that's the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, in addition to what you said, you know, sometimes, you know, that toxicity is a manifestation of maybe some mental disorder as well.
Okay.
There are times when, you know, people are bipolar. And what does bipolar look like? You know, And I don't want, listeners to go around, labeling people bipolar after.
Let's qualify. You're not a medical doctor. So let them not come and say Dr. Azuka said you're bipolar. I watched the Chike Onyia I say your husband, you are bipolar. That's what Dr. Azuka said, right?
Well, I have a medical background, though. Let me correct you.
Okay, you have a medical background.
Yes, I have a medical background.
All right.
And bipolar is a common, not common, well, most people know about. They've heard of it.
Bipolar.
A lot of people could be.
Sorry, honey, I think we're getting, it's an international call. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Yeah, hi there. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Oh, that is our son, Chike, calling from New York City. Chike, can you speak up?
Oh, Dad.
No, it's Chidera.
Oh, it's Chidera.
Yeah.
Hey, Chidera, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, everyone. I'm the second son of Zuka and Chike Onyia.
Can you speak up, son?
Yes, I said I'm the second son of Chike and Azuka Onyia. Now that the topic is managing relationships, I just have a question.
Okay, what's the question?
Very important question.
What's the question?
Yes, so it's actually a situation. I have these two very close friends. They're both God-fearing individuals, entering their second year in college. They're from the same place, both Ethiopian, very compatible for each other, but there's a major problem. Okay. So the girl has communicated that she's going to be very busy going on in her college years. She's studying pre-med with the potential of pursuing an MD PhD, which is a 12-year studying period, but it's not solidified yet. But it's likely that she's going to medical school. So right now she's have a lot of classes, research, and in between most of her free time, she's also going to have work as well. So they've been talking for 3 months. They like each other a lot, but what should the guy do in this situation?
I see. So I guess the challenge is the young lady is going to be very busy, potentially going to med school, all those years of study. The gentleman who is not in med school, right? He's, they're wondering, is this relationship going to work? Can he sacrifice and wait and be patient on her while she goes through med school? Right? Is that what he's asking? I mean, so
yeah.
How does he? Is that what you're asking? How is he going?
Yeah, he's coming.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say yes. He's coming to me for advice.
Oh, it's coming to you for advice.
You're 19. What do you know?
It's coming to you. I guess you're the relationship doctor, Chidera. But you're just 19. How are you going to answer that question? But let me say this to you.
That's why I'm asking you guys.
Let me say one or two things, and I'm sure your mom would want to chime in here. I think number one is love. I think if they're deeply in love, first and foremost, meeting a potential spouse, a great place to meet that person is in the university. It is really. Because that's when, like my wife was saying, in high school, you guys are like, you're just kids and you know each other, right? No, there's no holds barred, you're not hiding anything. So just when you're in college is a good place to meet that person. So I wouldn't give up so easily. And I think if he really loves her, then one of the key things in relationships is the ability to support your partner to achieve their dreams and their goals. Remember, you're going to marry somebody, you're going to be that person is still an individual. They have their aspirations, their goals. I wouldn't want for your mom, my wife, to come into my life and quench my desires in terms of my aspirations and my goals. I wouldn't want that. She wouldn't, and vice versa. She wouldn't want me to do that. So I would say that he should hang in there. He needs to be resilient. He needs to be mentally strong. He needs to be patient, particularly if he loves her dearly. That's what I would say, right? It may be tough waiting that long, but listen, sometimes things that are good, you're going to wait long.
Yeah, but you and I met in university. I was 16 and you were 19. And we didn't get married until how many years after? Maybe about 11 years after. So you could have gone to medical school during that 11 years, or I could have gone to medical school during that 11 years, or those 11 years. The key thing is it's having faith in the relationship and actually rooting for that relationship, rather than looking at the negative sides or the tough sides of the relationship, oh, she's going to medical school, she's going to be very busy. What about the positive aspects? What about the fact that I really love this person, they make me happy, you know, they are pursuing a very noble, you know, profession, you know, and then do things that, you know, both of you, there must be things that both of you can do together as she's going through that medical school. I remember when you and I were in, you know, were in the university, we used to study together. You know, you were studying architecture and I was studying veterinary medicine, and you would carry those big boards where you draw your stuff, you know, and I would just read my books, you know, and we found things that we enjoyed, you know, that we could do together. So for me, just having that positive mindset, you know, I keep coming back to that positive mindset. That's how I believe in the, in the relationship. Before Chidera called in, I was talking about, your spouse or your significant other may be bipolar, you know, may be suffering from severe mood swings. Today they are happy, tomorrow they are very angry, you know, next tomorrow they are sad and depressed. How do you cope? You know, it's still the same, you know, it's still the same recipe. Patience. Open, honest communication. Guy, I love you very much. You know, but I can see that something is bothering you. You need to seek therapy. I will support you. I will take you there. You know, I will be there for you. I will start. But you have to believe in the relationship so much that you look for help everywhere possible. And if the person refuses to accept help, you know, then you may have to sever that relationship. It doesn't make sense being in a toxic relationship that is so toxic that you yourself now become depressed. Right. So the person should be willing to accept that help. Yeah. You know, so that is what I would add to, to the comments or the question that person asked. There's another question from How do you recommend navigating conflict when people are already defensive?
Well, that's an emotional intelligence issue. And I think you said something about that earlier. You see, the question is, why is the person even becoming defensive? Let's go there first. It's possible it's the way you approach the person. So let's say there's a conflict, my dear, and you use the phrase, you are lazy. You never take out the trash. You never pick me up from work early. You always keep your dirty yes, as opposed to, I feel that if we look at this differently, we may make some progress. Notice the distinction. One is on the attack. And if you attack me like that, naturally, I'm going to defend myself. Even if I'm guilty, the concept of self-preservation and self-dignity says, why are you talking to me like that? So the first thing we need to understand is the way we communicate is what makes sometimes people defensive. Secondly, even sometimes when we communicate properly, some people are still defensive. That person has a problem. That person needs some coaching, some counseling, and they need some training, right? And that's why it's important to always know the people you get involved with. You got to study people very well. You got to understand their attributes, their temperament. You can't just jump into a relationship without doing your due diligence. Even banks will not open a bank account for you without doing a KYC, know your customer. So you really need to talk. And if that person persists, you need to have a sit down outside the conflict when all is well, on Sunday after church, you're at brunch, you say, honey, we need to talk.
Sometimes you can write. I mean, I know that I've
Yeah.
I couldn't get the words out.
Oh, my
always
God.
be defensive. So I wrote you. I think I allowed you to board the flight.
Yeah, I was going to London from LA.
Then I sent you an episode.
No, you gave me an envelope.
Oh, I gave you an envelope.
You wrote an envelope. Ladies and gentlemen, I was on my way from Los Angeles to London. It was like a 10-hour flight to London. And my wife dropped me up at the airport. I think we had a big fight or something. You know, that's when we were young in marriage. And she said to me, honey, I want you to read this on the plane. I thought she was giving me some US dollars, man, some moolah. I thought she was giving me euro, you know what I'm saying, or the pound sterling. But Dr. Azuka handed me an epistle. You know, one of those letters that Paul wrote to the church in Corinth. the letter to the Corinthians, man. By the time I settled down in the plane, I think I was flying Virgin or something, I said, let me even see this. What is in this letter? My gosh, it was like 3 or 4 pages, man. And by the time I got to London, man, trust me, I got the message. And you see, maybe at that time, I was being very defensive in my marriage. I've been defensive. You know, there are times that my wife would speak to me and I'll be like, no, don't. Even if I'm wrong, I'm going to approach in a way, no, don't do that. So I get defensive. But I like what she said. Sometimes you're right. You don't have to talk all the time, especially when your tempers are flaring up. You can send a WhatsApp message when everybody's cool. You can write a letter. I really love that. It worked miracles. It really did, right? So I hope we have answered that question. Wow, 1 hour never seems so enough for this show. We have so much to talk about. We're just having fun here.
Are there any more questions?
Are there questions we can take? I think there was another comment there made. You know, this is Halimat. Honey, you want to read that?
Halimat says self-love is very important. One must know that you cannot become resilient without passing through challenges. How you manage relationships can be a tool to your success or downfall.
No, I like that statement, and maybe we can close with that. How you manage relationships can be a tool. Somebody's laughing, a letter to the Corinthians. Who is that laughing? Yemi? Yemi? Kudos to Yemi. Thanks for watching. I hope your husband is there watching with you. Kudos to you guys. That's Madam Yemi. She was on the show weeks ago. Appreciate you. She's laughing. She says, the letter to the church in Corinth. Yes, I'm a student of the Holy Bible, the #1 book in the world. I love that book with all my life. You know, but I wanted to close the show with a statement that Halimat says. She says, the way you manage relationships can make or break you. You rise or you go down. For me personally, been married to my lovely wife for 27 years. And I tell you today, listen carefully as I close the show, I am financially doing much better because I married my wife. I'm doing better spiritually. I'm doing better emotionally. I'm doing better physically. Even the things I eat, my wife will say, hey, what is that? What are you eating? So she's checked me in all ramifications. And today, I simply, look, it's just amazing. So, and if we didn't walk our way through those conflicts and those issues with resilience and mental toughness, maybe my wife and I will not be here today, God forbid. But closing the show, I think we have a Molayo or Joe. Ma'am, honey, you want to read that?
She says emotional abuse is what a lot of people go through in their marriages. What are the best practices for building and maintaining trust in relationships? I know we're running out of time, but very quickly, open communication. Communication. You know, you have to be open in your communication. You have to say things the way they are. You have to disclose where you're going. Who you'll be with. You know what? Things happen these days. You know, there's all kinds of insecurity. You know, you go somewhere, oh, there was a bombing here, there was a this, that, and you didn't tell anybody where you are. You worry your family. You know, so just having that, open communication would help to maintain trust. Also being transparent. When you're asked, certain questions, answer truthfully, honestly. Try to not to think that there are any ulterior motives behind the questions that you ask. Some people are so suspicious that even if you tell them good morning, they will open the window to check whether the sun is up or not. You know, try to have an open mind.
Right.
You know, just do unto others how you would want them to, do, unto you. That is how you're going to maintain trust in your relationship. And how far your relationship goes depends on your attitude towards money as well. If you're the sort that hides your money under your pillow, or you dig a hole and hide it, your money is our money, but
My own.
money is my
Only mine.
You're not going to build trust in that relationship. A lot of relationships break up not because anybody cheated on anybody. Majority of relationships is financial. Oh, when it comes to my money, we are eating it and happy. But when it comes to your money, that story.
You go and hide it.
You go and hide it. You're going to reach that trust. Because whether we like it or not, money rules the world. You got to buy diesel, you got to pay school fees, you got to buy food.
Money is a defense.
Money, yes.
The Bible.
Says it.
The
Money
Bible,
is
this
defense.
holy book.
So where your attitude towards money is one that is not free and open-handed, it's going to affect the trust that your partner has for you in that relationship.
And I must say this about my wife. She's not that type of woman who will say, my Chike's money is our money, and then Azuka's money is her money. My wife is a giver. She's given to me. She continues to give generously, when I need. So I'm not the kind of man that will not ask for help when I need help. I'm saying it to some man out there. There's a time you have that humility to ask for help, right? But you don't because you want to be macho. There's nothing like that. The Bible tells me that my wife is a helper. She's there to help. So when there are financial issues, when there are emotional issues, I go to her to tell her the things that are burdensome on my heart.
One flesh.
Absolutely.
Applies to money as well, right?
There's no big deal. There's no big deal, right? You know what I'm saying? There's no big deal there. So that's why the Bible says we're one. She's a helper. So yes, I'm the man, I provide, I work hard, but I don't know everything. And I may not be everything. I may need help. So I go to my wife, and she's a giver. And that's one of the reasons why I celebrate Dr. Azuka everywhere I go, amongst other reasons. Let me close by saying one more thing to answer this question. Another way you build trust, my wife said, is transparency, and it's around this telephone. My wife has the password. There are times I travel out of the country, I give my wife my telephone and say, answer it. She has access to all my social media accounts, right? She picks my calls anytime. I leave my phone here. She can answer it. She has the right to scroll through all my WhatsApp messages. All of them. No reservations at all. I hide nothing. You see what I'm saying? That's one of the ways you build trust. In a lot of relationships, people are hiding this gadget because there's something up your sleeves, right? But when you have nothing up your sleeve, you don't hide the gadget. You make it available to your spouse and let them look through it, right? Anyway, we're 9 minutes out of time. But hey, this is not about 1 hour. If we have some things to say, we may go beyond. I want to thank our production team today. We would not, Dr. Azuka and I would not be here on this show if we don't thank our production director, our director of production, Mr. Blessing Timothy. I want to say thank you to him. The production crew, we have Marty here, we have Nathan, we have Favor. Chinemere is here as our social media manager. Back end is Ogechi, managing some of the admin stuff. We cannot do this show without these people. And to our friends and family all over the world, those of you who've called in, Halimat called in from Lagos, thank you. Chidera, our son, called in with the real life situation. I hope, Chidera, we've gotten some help for you. You can move that, tell your friend, pass that along to them, right? I want to thank everybody for joining in from London, anywhere. Yes? The social media guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really love you guys. I mean, what would this show be like without you, right? Thank you. Thank you. This is Chike. Oh, the purpose of the show is sitting right behind me, you know, to touch one life. And honey, maybe you should share that at the beginning of the show, because what's the purpose of the show as we begin to close anyway?
The purpose of the show is to touch one life and one family at a time, and I'm very hopeful that, you know, we will do, or we would have done that by the end of the show.
Yes, so this is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Chike Onyia, and Dr. Zuka is my lovely wife, my co-host. I'm your host. Good night. We'll see you next Friday, 7 p.m. West African time. We love you, and God bless you.